The war had come without warning. One moment, Captain Drew Mercer was sitting in the pilot seat of the Silver Raven, flying near a quiet mining sector. The next, alarms screamed through the ship like angry ghosts. A massive energy wave hit from nowhere, shaking the whole structure. Lights blinked. Panels sparked. The AI voice froze mid-sentence. Then silence. Drew stood up slowly, heart pounding in his chest. He had seen battles before, but this felt different. He looked at the screens. The navigation system was offline. The comms were dead. Life support was dropping fast. He grabbed a toolkit and ran toward the power core. Smoke filled the hallways. The ship had been damaged in multiple places, and strange patterns were burned into the metal. It wasn't just any enemy that attacked. It was something new, something unknown. He tried to access the emergency repair bot system, but even that was broken. Drew cursed under his breath. He kicked the nearest panel out of frustration, and that's when it happened. The wall behind him exploded, not from the outside, from the inside. A burst of orange sparks lit up the room. The metal bent outward like something had punched through. Drew raised his hands, eyes wide. A tall figure stepped out of the smoke and broken wall. Her skin was deep blue, glowing slightly under the emergency lights. Her hair was long and dark, falling across her back like a river of black silk. Strange goggles sat on her forehead, and her sharp ears twitched. She was tall. No, she was huge, easily 10 feet, and clearly not human. The alien woman looked around with sharp, glowing eyes. She wore heavy overalls and carried strange metallic tools attached to her hips. Her fingers had glowing tips, pulsing with soft blue light. She moved fast, stepping over wires and debris, heading straight for the core chamber. Drew stood, frozen. She didn't speak. She didn't look at him. She just opened the control panel and started working. Sparks flew again. Her long fingers moved faster than anything Drew had ever seen. She tapped the damaged reactor, twisted the wiring like thread, and rewired it using glowing cables from her belt. The lights flickered, then held steady. Power returned. Systems came back online. The air recycling system kicked on with a hiss. Lights blinked green one by one. The ship's heartbeat returned. Drew was still holding his breath. Who are you? He finally asked. The alien paused, turned slowly, and looked at him. Her eyes were bright and full of something unreadable, like a machine thinking faster than words. You were going to die, she said. Her voice was calm but firm. I fixed that. Then she turned and walked toward another damaged panel. Drew followed her, still shocked. You just came out of my wall. That's not normal. I was resting in the emergency buffer chamber, she said while working. It's part of the ship, hidden. Only old models like this have it. That chamber hasn't been used in years, he said. You were in there this whole time? 17 cycles, she replied. I was placed there by an earlier crew. They never came back. Drew stared at her. 17 cycles? That was old, maybe decades, maybe more. She wasn't just some alien who jumped aboard. She had been here all along. You're an engineer, he said. She gave a short nod, then pointed at a cracked coolant line. Fix that before the heat kills us both. He moved quickly. Even though she was strange, tall, powerful, blue, her knowledge was real. Every time she pointed at something broken, it made sense. Every fix she made brought the ship back to life. Do you have a name? He asked while patching the coolant pipe. I was called Kira, she said. Drew nodded. Kira, I'm Drew, and thanks for saving me. Kira didn't answer right away. She stared at the main console where power levels were rising back to normal. The attack, she said. It wasn't human. I know. They used phase weapons, she continued. Not standard war tech, that energy wave. It was designed to break systems, not destroy bodies. Drew swallowed hard. So it was a test? A warning, she said. More will come. The silence stretched between them. Outside the window, the stars looked calm. But something was moving in the dark. Something that had already hit them once and might return stronger. Drew looked at Kira again. She was already opening the next panel, working without rest. He realized something then. She wasn't here by accident, and maybe, just maybe, he wasn't alone anymore. Drew sat on the floor of the control room, wiping sweat from his brow with a torn sleeve. Power was back. Lights were stable. Life support systems were holding. But the ship still had 100 small wounds, and the threat outside hadn't disappeared. Kira hadn't stopped moving since she came out of the wall. She was like a storm, fast, focused, and impossible to stop. Her glowing fingers fixed damaged circuits. Her tall frame moved through tight corridors like she'd lived there all her life. She didn't ask for help. She just fixed things. Drew finally stood and followed her into the maintenance corridor. Why? Were you really in the wall? He asked. Kira didn't look at him. She pressed her palm against a panel. The wall slid open. Tools floated up from the hidden rack inside. I was placed there for activation during emergency code black, she said. That's for full system failure. It happened. He couldn't argue with that. Still, her presence made no sense. Why would a ship like Silver Raven have an alien engineer, especially one hidden like a secret? I've flown this ship for years. How did I never find you? Kira turned her head slightly. Because the last pilot didn't want me found. That made him stop. What happened to them? She paused, her hand still for the first time. They failed. They left me here and ran. Drew felt a chill run through him. He didn't know what was worse, the idea of someone abandoning her, or the idea that they left her behind on purpose. Why didn't you leave? I was under rest lock, she said, until a full emergency. No override, so you were trapped. Kira nodded once. Until now. A moment of silence passed. Then the alert light blinked red again. Drew rushed to the console and pulled up the long-range scan. A new ship had entered the system, huge, silent, and moving fast. No human markings. No friendly code. It was the same kind of signal that attacked them earlier. They're back, he muttered. Kira walked up beside him and looked at the screen. Her jaw tightened. It's a scout class, not a warship. Scouting for what? For weakness, she said. If they find one, more will follow. Drew gritted his teeth. We're not ready for another fight. Kira stepped forward and pulled open the weapons panel. It was offline, still burned out. She pulled off the front cover and began rewiring it from scratch. You fight? He asked, surprised. I fix, she said. You fight. I don't. Think that's fair, Kira smirked. Just a little. You're small. Fast, I'm large. I patch holes. Division of tasks. He couldn't help but laugh. It was the first time she'd shown any humor. Even if she wasn't smiling, her eyes had softened. As she worked, Drew ran to the cockpit and scanned the nearby asteroid field. He had one idea, risky, but it might work. If he could hide the Silver Raven inside the rocks, maybe the scout would pass by without a second attack. But they had to move now. Kira, he called. We've got one shot. I need thrusters back online. Working. You've been working nonstop. She didn't answer. He returned to her and saw her shoulders rise and fall. Her breathing was heavier now. Sweat shined on her blue skin. She was strong, but even she had limits. You need to rest. I'm fine. No, he said. You fixed half this ship. If we survive, it's because of you. Kira looked at him with serious eyes. Then don't die, he blinked. That the best advice you got? It worked for me, she said. Outside the window, the enemy ship grew larger, closer. They had only minutes. Kira stood, cracked her knuckles, and touched the control panel. With both hands. Her skin glowed brighter, and electricity surged through the wires. The ship shook. The engine coughed once, then roared to life. "Go," she said. Drew jumped into the pilot seat. His fingers danced across the screen. The ship lifted, turned sharply, and darted toward the asteroid belt. The controls weren't perfect, but they worked. Because of her, the enemy scout followed, scanning, watching as Silver Raven slid between two massive rocks. The scout slowed. It couldn't follow. Not easily. Not without risking collision. For now, they were safe, but Drew knew it wouldn't last. He turned back to Kira. "Why are they after this ship?" She didn't answer right. "Away. Then," finally she said, "because of what's inside it." The asteroid field was quiet. Drew kept the ship hidden in the shadow of a large, rotating rock. The scout ship outside hovered near the edge of the field, scanning, waiting. It didn't attack again, not yet. But it didn't leave either. Inside the Silver Raven, systems were still weak. Life support was stable, weapons mostly offline, and navigation was limited. The ship was alive but wounded. Kira sat on the floor near the open engine panel. Her tools were spread around her like a circle. Her hands were slower now. Even her glowing skin seemed dimmer. She hadn't slept. She hadn't eaten. Drew brought her a protein pack and water. "You need this." She didn't look up. Later, "You said they're after something inside this ship." "What did you mean?" She stopped moving. "They're not after you," she said. "They're after me." Drew's eyes narrowed. "Why?" Kira stood slowly, wiping her hands on a cloth. "Because I carry knowledge their kind cannot allow to exist." Drew leaned against the wall, arms crossed. "You're not just an engineer, are you?" She shook her head. "I was created as one. But I became more. Created?" She nodded. "I was grown in a lab, half organic, half machine. Designed to repair, to learn, to evolve. My kind was built for war, not to fight, but to keep machines alive. Ships like this one, weapons, systems." Drew stared. "You're a living repair unit." "Yes," she said. "And a threat." "Why?" "Because I don't obey anymore." Those words hit hard. Kira looked at the ship's systems again. "My last crew used me, treated me like a tool. When they lost control, they feared me. They sealed me away in the wall." Drew felt a knot form in his chest. "You're not a tool," he said. She looked at him, quiet for a moment, then gave a small nod. "You're the first to say that." Drew didn't know what to say back. Then the ship's scanner beeped. He rushed to the console. The enemy scout had launched something small, fast, and heading right for them. "It's a probe," Kira said. "It'll find us. What do we do?" She walked up behind him. "We stop hiding. We can't fight that thing." "We don't fight it directly." She pulled up the ship's blueprint. "There's a core disruptor buried under the weapons grid. Hidden, old tech, dangerous." Drew blinked. "I didn't even know that existed. Most don't, but I do." "It still works?" Kira gave him a serious look. "If we use it, we only get one shot. It will drain the ship's power to zero for a few minutes. And if we miss, then we die." Drew exhaled slowly. "Can we aim it?" "I can patch it into the guidance system, but you'll have to pull the trigger." "Great," he said. "No pressure." Kira opened the weapons control panel and began rerouting power. Sparks jumped from the console, and blue light flowed up her arms. Her face tightened, but she didn't stop. The ship groaned as the energy moved from the core into the disruptor. Unit. Drew climbed into the seat and locked onto the probe's signal. It was moving fast. 30 seconds. Kira stood beside him, hands on the panel, keeping the system stable. 20 seconds. The ship lights dimmed. 15. Drew gritted his teeth. 10. The scanner beeped louder. The probe was almost on them. "Now," Kira said. Drew slammed the fire control. The ship shook with a low hum, and a sharp pulse of white light burst from the side cannon. It flew straight through the asteroid field, silent, Precise and fast. Screen went black. Engines off. Lights dead. Even the air system paused. Only silence remained. Drew couldn't breathe. Then outside. The window a bright flash. The probe was gone. Destroyed mid-flight. Seconds later, the ship's system slowly blinked back to life. Drew leaned back in his seat, heart racing. That actually worked. Kira smiled, just barely. I told you. He looked at her. Her skin was dim again, eyes tired. She leaned against the console for balance. You need rest, he said. She nodded. I will recharge in the wall. What? I'm connected to it. It heals me. Drew shook his head. No, not again. You're not going back into hiding. We'll find another way. Kira looked at him, quiet, surprised. Outside, the scout ship finally turned and left the asteroid field. For now they had won. But war wasn't over, and Kira was still hiding a truth he hadn't fully heard yet. Asterisk, the stars outside. The window drifted slowly as the Silver Raven floated through space. The engines were quiet now, running at low power to avoid detection. Inside, the ship felt calm, but only on the surface. Drew walked through the hallway, checking each system. He fixed loose panels, tightened bolts, and cleared wires off the floor. It felt strange doing repairs without Kira beside him. She was resting not in the wall, but in the back chamber, lying across two makeshift beds he had joined together. Even lying down, she took up most of the room. Her eyes were closed. Her chest rose and fell slowly. Her blue skin no longer glowed. It looked dull, like a machine running low on power. Drew sat on the floor across from her. She looked peaceful now. Almost human, but he knew she wasn't. She was stronger. Smarter, built for war, but born to repair. And somehow, she had chosen to help him. He leaned his head back against the wall and closed his eyes. They had survived 2 attacks already, but something didn't feel finished. When he opened his eyes again, Kira was awake, sitting up. You should sleep, she said. So should you. She tilted her head. You didn't leave. Why would I? She looked down. Most people run when they see what I am. I'm not most people, he said. Kira nodded slowly. Good. Drew stood and walked over. I've got questions, still, things you haven't told me. Kira's gaze met his. Ask. He sat beside her. You said you were made. By who? A forgotten race, she said. They built ships like temples. Machines were sacred. They made beings like me to care for them. But what happened? War, greed. My kind became weapons. Some of us refused. We escaped, hid. I was taken by traitors, sold, locked away. Drew felt a knot in his stomach. They just used you. Yes. Until I stopped obeying. He didn't speak for a moment. Then, why help me? She looked at him carefully. Because you treat me like I matter. He felt the weight of her words. No one had ever said something like that to him before. A sudden alert beeped from the control panel down the hall. Drew jumped up and ran to check it. Kira followed. Her steps heavier now, slower. The screen showed a blinking message. A distress call. Faint. Broken. Repeating. Drew enhanced the signal. It was a human code. Someone's in trouble, he said. Kira narrowed her eyes. It could be a trap. Could be, or it could be real. He tapped the screen. The location was 2 hours away at half speed. But the area was inside a known pirate zone. Dangerous. Drew turned to her. We can't ignore it. Kira didn't answer. She stared at the screen for a long time, then nodded. Let's go. The ship moved slowly, its repaired engines pushing forward. As they got closer, the message grew clearer. Help. This is civilian ship Rosa Blue. Under attack, engines failing. Then static. Drew gripped the controls tighter. Kira stood behind him, silent. When they reached the coordinates, Drew slowed the ship and stared out the front window. There it was. A small freighter, drifting, damaged, no weapons, no shields. Its engine was dead, but something else floated nearby. A pirate vessel larger, darker, and armed. Looks like they haven't spotted us yet, Drew whispered. Kira leaned forward. Their weapons are weak, but fast. If we move in close, they'll notice, Drew thought quickly. I've got one working cannon. Not enough, she said. Then what do we do? Kira turned to him. You distract them. I'll go over. Go over? She stepped back and opened a panel. Inside was a suit, thick, sealed, reinforced. It was too large for any normal person, but it fit her perfectly. I'll jump across, she said. Get inside. Cut their systems. That's insane. No, she said calmly. It's what I was made for. She pulled the suit on, locked her tools to her belt, and walked toward the airlock. Drew followed, still unsure. You'll be alone in there. Kira looked back. I've been alone most of my life. He stared at her, then slowly nodded. Come back alive. She stepped into the airlock. The door hissed shut. A moment later, she was gone. The moment Kira launched from the airlock, the silence inside the Silver Raven grew heavy. Drew kept his eyes on the pirate ship drifting ahead. Its outer hull was patched and rough, with glowing red ports and active sensors. But it didn't notice her. Not yet. Through the small monitor, he watched Kira soar across the gap, arms close to her body, legs straight, her suit sealed tight. She hit the pirate hull with a solid clang, her magnetic boots locking her in place. Drew held his breath. Kira crawled like a shadow along the side of the ship. No alarms, no motion inside. She reached a panel and pulled it open with ease. Sparks jumped and wires curled from inside. She slipped her arm in and pressed something. The lights on the pirate ship blinked. Just once, then quiet again. Drew tapped his fingers nervously on the console. Come on. Inside the pirate ship, Kira moved quickly. She dropped through a maintenance vent and landed inside a dark hallway. The place smelled of oil, old food, and sweat. She moved like a ghost, quiet, focused. She passed sleeping crew members. Others played cards in a side room, unaware. She didn't stop. Kira found the core control room. The system was simple old tech, scavenged parts. She smiled slightly. This was easy for her. She pulled a small glowing tool from her belt, knelt by the system's heart, and inserted it. Then she stood and waited. Back in the Silver Raven, Drew watched as the pirate ship lights suddenly flickered. Then the engines shut down. The whole ship powered off in one smooth ripple, like a falling curtain of darkness. What did you do? Drew whispered. Then he saw movement. Escape pods. 3 of them. Pirates were running. Cowards. Drew activated the comms and opened a channel to the freighter nearby. This is the Silver Raven. You're safe now. Can you respond? A weak voice answered. Well, yes, we're alive. Thank you, he smiled. Relief filled his chest. He turned his eyes back to the enemy ship. Kira, come home. Inside the pirate vessel, Kira walked calmly to the airlock. The ship was dark, empty. No one tried to stop her. She stepped into space again and made her way back to the Silver Raven. Using a retractable cable Drew had fired earlier, she landed with a heavy thud. Drew ran to the airlock. As it opened, steam hissed and light poured out. There she was, soot on her cheek, suit scratched, but standing strong. She took off her helmet and looked at him. They won't bother anyone again, she said. Drew grinned. You scared them off. Without firing a shot, Kira looked away. That's what happens when they think they've met a ghost. Drew paused. Is that what you are? No, she said quietly. But I used to feel like one. He saw the truth behind her words. All this time, she had been trapped, hiding, forgotten, treated like a tool, not a person. But now she was changing. So was he. They helped the freighter repair its systems. Kira guided them calmly, answering. their scared questions with technical advice and soft words. The people inside didn't fear her. They were thankful. By the time the freighter left safely, Drew felt something shift. Trust. Kira stood beside him on the deck, arms crossed, watching the stars. He turned to her. So, what now? She didn't answer immediately. Then, there's more like me, hiding, lost, broken. He nodded. We find them. Kira looked at him. You'd help me? You helped me first. She stared for a moment, then gave the smallest nod. Drew smiled. We'll need fuel, supplies, maybe a new wall. She chuckled softly. You fly, I fix. And if something jumps out of the next wall, Kira tilted her head. Then I'll deal with it. Weeks passed. The Silver Raven was no longer the same broken ship that drifted through dead space. It was stronger, smarter, faster. And in every corner, every circuit, every new piece of wiring, there was Kira's touch. Drew stood at the front window, hands in his pockets, watching the stars pass slowly. They had helped 2 more ships since the pirate incident. One was a research pod with a cracked hull. Another was a cargo barge missing its engines. Kira fixed both, not for reward, not for praise, but because they needed her. Word had started to spread across the smaller sectors. There was a ship with a ghost engineer, a giant, a legend. Drew chuckled to himself. If only they knew you eat protein packs and snore in your sleep. Kira's voice came from behind. I don't snore. You absolutely do. She stepped beside him. Today, she wore cleaner gear, simple dark overalls with her long hair tied back and her goggles resting across her chest. I've scanned the next location, she said. There's an old station in orbit of a dying planet. Silent for 20 years, he looked at her. You think one of your kind is there? I don't know, she said. But I feel it. Drew nodded. Then that's where we go. She watched him for a second, then asked quietly, why do you keep helping me? He turned to face her. You saved me, twice, maybe more. You came out of a wall like a lightning bolt and rebuilt my entire ship with your hands. You risked your life for strangers. You were made by people who didn't deserve you, but you keep choosing to do good anyway. He stepped closer. I'd follow someone like that. Kira didn't speak. She just looked at him. Really looked, then she asked. Softer than ever, and if I wasn't made for this? If I was just a girl? He gave a small smile. Then I guess I'd still follow you. She blinked, her eyes glowing a little brighter. It was the first time she didn't look like a machine. She looked alive. Human, even. Maybe more. The ship beeped. Navigation locked on a new course. They turned together and walked back to the control deck. The stars ahead burned golden and bright. As the Silver Raven flew forward, Drew placed his hand gently on the console, beside it. Kira placed hers too. The ship hummed like it understood them both now, not just pilot and engineer, but partners. Not just in battle. But in something deeper. Something new. In a galaxy full of war, rust, and silence, 2 souls had found each other, and they were just getting started.